I think it is important to be accurate, to start there.
Yeah, but I think we should...
Have you ever made a mistake on this broadcast, Amy?
Yes.
How many, would you say?
I would say that each time it's pointed out, we try to apologize.
So do we.
And we try to correct the record.
And the issue is, for me, the 7,000 cases, as soon as I understood the issue was the 3 years versus 30 years, I mean, to me it was...
That's not minor.
To me, it frankly was of no interest. The issue was 7,000 cases on the registry at Hanson's. That was the issue I was responding to when I understood fully the 3-year thing. I mean, to me, the idea was whether the registry had been brought up to date or not. No one in their right mind thought that in, a year or whatever, that 1,000 cases had been created.
Well, I'd like to move on. I want to play a report from your show covering former Mexican President Vicente Fox's May 2000 visit to the United States. Your reporter, Casey Wynn, described the visit as a, quote, Mexican military incursion. This aired on May 23, 2006.
This Mexican military incursion was fully authorized. A Mexican Air Force jet carrying President Vicente Fox, who was not just invited to Utah, but encouraged to visit by Governor John Huntsman.
We fully support the businessmen from Utah and Mexico.
It's estimated Utah has about 100,000 illegal aliens, and the number is growing rapidly. Utah is also part of the territory some militant Latino activists refer to as Aztlan, the portion of the southwest United States they claim rightfully belongs to Mexico. You could call this the Vicente Fox Aztlan Tour, since the 3 states he'll visit, Utah, Washington, and California, are all part of some radical group's vision of the mythical indigenous homeland. Lou?
Casey, thank you very much.
The Southern Poverty Law Center criticized CNN for airing that report, in part because, as your reporter, Casey Wynn, spoke, a graphic appeared on the screen. It was a map of the United States highlighting the 7 southwestern states that Mexico supposedly covets and calls Aztlan. The map was prominently sourced to the Council of Conservative Citizens, which is considered by many to be a white supremacist hate group.
Your response?
You know the response and you know the reality. How long was that screen up? How long was that map up?
Enough to see it.
The field producer, did you know it was from the CCC, which is a hate group?
It's attributed right there.
Right.
It says.
Right. And it couldn't be clearer, could it? I mean, we weren't hiding anything. We had no idea what they were. The field producer who used it went on this web, did a grab, as it's called, and put it up. And she was suspended for a day for doing so. Did you guys know that we have sent our producers and our reporters down to the Southern Poverty Law Center years ago to make certain this sort of thing doesn't happen? That's how seriously we take the issue. And for you to talk about the incursion, you forgot to point out that was coming out a rather jocular discussion of the incursions by Mexican forces along the border and the response of the U.S. government. But and I mean, are you
Lou,
offended?
did you say you have no idea what the Council on Conservative Citizens is?
Did I say I don't?
Yes.
I certainly do now. Absolutely. What did I say? You didn't hear what I just said? They're acknowledged as a hate group. Absolutely.
See, but the problem is this.
What is the problem here?
Projecting the image to your viewers that there's a Mexican desire to reconquer the reconquista of the southwestern United States does create images, and especially in people who are not necessarily as intelligent as you, necessarily, who have studied as much as you have, you know, that the country is under siege.
My God, are you so self-important that you don't think people have a sense of humor when Casey Wynn says this is an authorized incursion by the Mexican government? You don't think people have a sense of humor about that? The reality is, I think most people do. The other thing is, who are you trying to protect America from? I'm a little confused, because the reality is that there is a strong radical group of reconquistas and Aztlan aficionados, and I have had them demonstrating against me in a couple of cities over the past few weeks. Don't sit here being disingenuous and sanctimonious, because let me tell you something. There are as many idiots on either extreme of this debate, and don't kid yourself.
But Lou, I think what's important here, once again, is the pattern. It's the pattern. Now let me make my point, because what I talk about is facts.
The pattern is, for 5 years we've been reporting on illegal immigration. The pattern is that we have been reporting on the impact of illegal immigration. It doesn't suit your partisan views, and that's understandable, or your ideological views. But don't get carried away with yourselves, for crying out loud.
Okay, Lou, let's talk about some of the guests you've had on your show.
Sure.
For example, Barbara Coe, leader of the California Coalition for Immigration
You're reading
Reform.
From the Southern Poverty Law Center. She was not a guest.
I am going to look. As you said, you actually felt that the Southern Poverty Law Center was so important in getting information that you sent your producers down there to get information so that you would represent hate groups on the air.
They're nothing but a fundraising organization,
so
and they're indulging in pure BS, and so are you when you quote them.
Let me just talk about some of the guests that you have had on.
Sure, they're not guests.
Or quoted on the show. No, she was quoted on the show, bitterly attacking Home Depot for betraying Americans, apparently because Hispanic day laborers often gather in front of the store looking for work. Not mentioned were her group, listed by the Southern Poverty Leadership Council as a hate group, or the fact that she routinely refers to Mexicans as savages. Coe recently described herself as a member of the Council of Conservative Citizens, the white pride group formed from the remnants of the segregationist White Citizens Council of the 50s and 60s, which Thurgood Marshall called the Uptown Klan.
My God, Amy, what year was that on our broadcast? What year?
Not clear. You can tell me what year it was on the broadcast.
Actually, I can't, but it was years ago. And it was before we knew what the heck was going on.
I'm going to talk about a few other people.
Sure.
Glenn Spencer, head of the Anti-Immigration American Patrol, has been interviewed at least twice on the show in 2004, maybe many more times after, I don't know. Spencer's website is jammed with anti-Mexican vitriol. He pushes the idea the Mexican government is involved in a secret plot to take over the Southwest. Facts never mentioned on your show. His group is recorded as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League. Spencer has spoken at least twice to the White Supremacist Council of Conservative Citizens.
I have no knowledge of this fellow. I have no idea, and you're not telling me when he was on the broadcast. No, I did not have him on the show. He was quoted. He was either quoted in a piece.
No, Lou. On January 7th, 2004, and June 4th, 2004, he was interviewed on your broadcast.
He was not on our broadcast. He may have been in a field report. He was not on our broadcast. And Amy, let me ask you a question. Have you checked to see how many guests we've had on our show in the course of, what is that,
you have had
3.5 years? No,
I mean,
let's get a number. What do you think? Why are you focusing on 2 or 3?
I can go on and on, but I think the important point here...
Give us a total of the number of guests you object to.
Lou, I just want to say something here. You just said to Juan, can he take a joke when you talk about the incursion, Mexico taking over the United States?
No,
yet it is a growing theme. It is a continuing thread in your broadcast. This guy, Glenn Spencer, whether he said this on your show or not, just 1 second, has not mentioned his ties to America.
I'm supposed to be responsible for what he says off my broadcast?
No, you should know that he was tied to American Renaissance, the group that says blacks are genetically inferior to whites. You didn't report those ties or mention Spencer's more wild-eyed contentions, such as just listen to this, such as his prediction that thousands will die in a supposedly forthcoming Mexican
You're giving
invasion.
Glenn Spencer and other detestable people who would make such comments of that more airtime than anybody.
Well,
you have just given him more air than I would have ever.
But Lou, let me make a final point.
Go back and look at the quotes.
Let me make a final point.
Who's giving him more airtime?
Your colleague, Wolf Blitzer, on the other hand, also featured Spencer on his own show, but reported Mexico's official response that SPLC, Southern Poverty Leadership Council's hate group designation, said that he was a member of a hate group as designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So
what year was that?
What I'm saying is that Wolf Blitzer identified him. You did not.
What year?
Well, I just know when you had him on your show, and you may have had him on since then.
Do you know when Wolf Blitzer had it?
Well, soon after that, I suppose.
Okay,
I don't know.
After we found out.
But you know what? The fact is, I don't know, and I admit when I don't know, and I try to get my facts straight. Another guest that you've had on the show. Now, this is a very important point, and this is one that you would agree that you've covered, and that is Arizona. This is very important, the Protect Arizona Now referendum. In late 2004, it was revealed that the new head of the National Advisory Board to Protect Arizona Now, an anti-immigration organization, was a longtime white supremacist who was also an editorial advisor to the racist Council of Conservative Citizens. Although Virginia Abernathy's controversial selection was reported prominently in virtually every Arizona paper, and despite the fact that